Hello, this is your introduction to your ceramic tic-tac-toe game board and pieces project. So what is tic-tac-toe? It's a game you might be familiar with where you usually play it on a piece of paper, you draw out the game board, and then you and another person pick a side, either an X or an O, and then you try to put three of your X's or O's in a row. And if you put three in a row, then you win. So there is a bit of defense and offense being played. And so actually some facts about tic-tac-toe. It was originally called noughts and crosses. This is actually a British term for the game, and noughts actually means zero. This game has been around for over 3,000 years. It actually originated in ancient Egypt, and it was also played in ancient Rome. This game actually helps children develop skills in problem solving, predictability, spatial reasoning, right? Because you have to think about where to put your X or O, hand-eye coordination, as well as strategizing. Yes, there is a little bit of a strategy to playing tic-tac-toe. Your project, you are going to design a tic-tac-toe game board that has a unifying theme. The game board is made using a slab and coils, or it's made with a slab and areas are carved away. And I'll show you a couple examples of what I mean by that. So your game board can be made several ways, but you need your game pieces. Those pieces for the game board should somehow relate to the overall theme, and your game pieces will likely be formed by hand. So your game pieces are just like little individual sculptures. Be aware that the game board and the pieces, they will be painted later on. So this is an example of a game board with the pieces. What's the unifying theme? So if you notice for this particular game board, it's circular, and they actually just used a thick slab, and then they used a ribbon tool to carve away areas. So this is one way you could create your game board. Though of course for this particular design, since it's supposed to be a waffle, that really makes sense for the overall design. Now this example here, what's really cool is the outer edge of the game board follows that pizza theme. And yes, even though it has these thicker coils for the game board portion, and it reads kind of like cheese, the color helps unify that background of the game board. Now this particular game board, while the cars are different colors, they're all the same form, size, shape. The tires are all the same. For this one, the game board is made of a square, though they probably could have gotten more creative and done like a road for the game board or like a giant tire. This one has little life-saving rings and boats. Again, they could have done something more creative for the game board, but it is glazed very nicely. Again, you'll be painting yours. The color does help unify everything very well. Now, this particular game board is an organic shape because it's the outline of a ghost. And yes, okay, the issue with this particular game board, the pieces look great. It does follow the theme. Problem is there's not a lot of space to put your game pieces. There's definitely space here. So you do want to think about the overall size of your game pieces versus the size of the game board. This one's pretty cool. Now, it might be kind of hard to tell what is the X and what is the O, but we're going to guess that the regular cereal shaped pieces are one side and the opponent is the colored shapes and forms which represent the marshmallows. The game board is highly creative. It looks like splattered milk. So there's just a few requirements. You have a lot of decisions to make though. So you're making one game board. That shape of the game board can be geometric or organic. You could make it very straightforward, like a square or a circle, or again, like you saw in these examples here, the game board can get very creative. You need 5 to 6 game pieces per side. So you need 5 to 6 pieces that represent the X and 5 to 6 game pieces that represent the O or the 0. The entire design of the game board and the pieces should follow a unifying theme, and there's many ways to explore this in this project. Keep in mind that the size of the game board should be proportional to the game pieces, because in theory, you want to actually be able to use the pieces to play tic-tac-toe. If the pieces are really small, but the game board is really large, it just seems kind of weird. So let's talk about starting your plan. All right, so this is the planning paper you're going to be using to plan your tic-tac-toe. You're going to think of a theme. So for this particular design, I went through so many designs, but I thought of like a ramen bowl, like ramen, the soup. So I thought the shape of the game board should be a circle, like a bowl. And I thought maybe these areas that create the spaces for the X's and O's, those could be like thick noodles. So when you sketch the outline of your game board, keep in mind we want to sketch the lines that separate each section for the tic-tac-toe. You may want to consider adding a border for the game board, and I do have examples you can look at. You're going to also sketch 2 game pieces. So for my idea, I thought of like, because I need to represent noodles, right? Because that's what's in ramen. So I thought of like a little bundle of noodles with some green onion on top. Those, I would have to make 5 to 6 of these. And then I need pieces of pork. That would be my other part. Now, we know there's so much more to ramen, so I have a lot of choices I could have done for the game pieces. Now, when you're done doing your drawing, you'll need to see me for my signature, but don't forget to fill out the back of this paper. What is the theme for your tic-tac-toe board and game pieces? What is unique about your designs? I really want you guys to avoid copying from what we see on the internet, because there's a lot of cool ideas, but I really want you to aim for something original. But also, why did you choose this theme for your design? What makes it special or important to you? I also thought of the theme from the movie Spirited Away. So the game board would be like a bath, because if you remember from Spirited Away, the main house, it's a place for demons to gather, and it's a bathhouse for demons where they go and relax. And there'd be rope around the sides, and the game pieces would be those dust sprites. That's what they're called. And also little no faces. Again, if you've seen Spirited Away, you'll know what this is referring to. Another idea I had was making a game board that follows the theme for going to the beach. So the game board is actually a beach towel made of a slab, and it would be painted blue and white stripes. There wouldn't be any border. The game pieces would be umbrellas and beach balls. So I actually like 3D little umbrellas and little hollowed out beach balls. Now, the one I actually started developing further, I thought of the artist Vincent van Gogh. He was a painter, and I thought of using just a circular base for the game board, but one of his paintings, which is Starry Night, has a really cool moon design, so I would include this moon for part of the background of the game board. And for the 2 game pieces, I thought of using sunflowers, because that's a popular motif in his paintings, as well as an ear. So I would need to create a bunch of ears, because Vincent van Gogh is an artist that was known for cutting off his ear. As part of the suffering artist idea. So that is the moon idea I went with for my actual game board plan. So how to begin your game board? First of all, once I give you clay, you're going to need to roll out a slab. Now, if you decide to carve into your clay for your game board, you'll probably want a thicker slab. For mine, I went for my 1/4 inch thick slab. I used a coil to add a border because I wanted a border. It just looks more neat. It keeps the slab much more stable. And you can see how I actually blended the sides of the coil into the sides of the game board. And then I actually took a needle tool and drew out where those lines go for the game board. I want to make sure there's enough room, and I want to make sure the spacing makes sense. Then I went in and I actually used a ribbon tool to carve away this texture for the moon because I'm going to be painting this later on. And if you've ever seen Vincent van Gogh's paintings, this is a very typical style where he uses a lot of brush strokes where the colors almost seem to blend together in various ways. So I'm kind of trying to replicate that in my game board. Then I went in and added my coils, and I just decided to add them right on top, and you can see I scored where I'm going to place them. And so this is where I'm left at now. So technically my game board is just about done. My next step would be creating those game pieces. Now my little game pieces, you should actually make all of them at the same time. So once I create my first sunflower, I'm gonna go ahead and create all of my sunflower pieces. Then I will take care of the ear and make all of my ear pieces.